everyone, welcome back. I have a new makeup tutorial for you today. So anyone who follows the MAC Cosmetics Instagram would have seen about there on, what day was it? Was it Sunday or Monday? They released a picture of a Lorde x MAC, or Lorde Loves MAC, I'm still not sure what that is, face chart for Lorde collection they're going to be releasing in June. Now that has mysteriously disappeared from their Instagram, but of course once it's up, it's everywhere and you can find it anywhere on the internet. I think that the face chart is absolutely beautiful. Lorde I think is really class. I mean, she really does her own thing and I think that's so cool, especially for a girl her age. She's only like 17 and I really like her style. Her makeup really resonates with me. I mean, her style in general does, but her makeup is the kind of makeup that I prefer. She loves to be her normal pale self. She loves to rock a dark lip, you know, the dark strong lip. She likes, you know, her natural eye and her strong brows, which is a very me kind of thing as well. So I really wanted to recreate this for you. The face chart doesn't come along that I saw with any product list, so it's very much open to interpretation, and I just wanted to do it the way I think you could do it, you know, without it being too complicated, and hopefully it's easy enough to follow. So I will start off with a little bit of primer. This is the Olay Regenerist Super 10-Minute Miracle. It did used to be called something else. I can't remember what that was exactly now, but I think it was like the wrinkle something or other. I'll leave it below anyhow, but this is a great little primer. It's new enough to me and I've been loving it since getting it. If I was to choose a MAC primer that would be closest to this, it would probably be the regular MAC Prep and Prime Skin Base, and that's way too much. I'm a devil for putting out too much product on the back of my hand. I'm just going to pop this all over the face. And then for the video that's in it, I'm going to use the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in NC15. Don't actually use this too often, but it's a great foundation as long as you know how to use it. And the way to use it properly is not to over apply it. People apply way too much of this product, especially thinking that that's how they have to do it to get a full coverage, and that's not what you want to do. Studio Fix is an actual like medium buildable, like to full coverage foundation. So it has quite a lot of pigment in it anyhow. And you just need to apply a little bit where you need it for a second kind of layer for better coverage. But when you over apply it, it can look very cakey and, you know, way too obvious and mask like on the skin. So the trick is to just work it and really buff it well into the skin. I'm just using a Real Techniques stippling brush, the MAC 130, yeah, would be a similar one for that if you want to stick with MAC. Lorde's own skin doesn't always seem to be perfect. Of course, she's only a teenager. Mine definitely wasn't perfect as a teenager. And she seems to tend to go for the fuller coverage foundation. And my skin definitely isn't in good nick at the moment. I have a bit of a breakout there in my cheek area. The trick with Studio Fix Fluid as well is to moisturise really well under it. If you are in any way like normal to dry, because it can dry out the skin throughout the day if you are prone to dryness of the skin, because it does contain skin oil absorbing properties and ingredients. So for a concealer I'm going to stick with MAC, and this is the Pro Conceal Palette in Light. This is a pro product and it's great if you can get your hands on it, particularly if you are a professional makeup artist. Now I'm going to be popping some of this yellow corrector highlighter underneath the eye, just on my very, very dark purple areas. I'm not going to bring it in on the blue areas up along here where the vein are, because it can look a bit greeny if I do this. And this is just kind of as a base for my other concealer, just to brighten up the area first. And I like to use my fingers for this one because it really helps to melt the product into the skin. It is a slightly thicker concealer, which I, you know, generally don't really love to use under the eye, but this one actually isn't too bad under the eye. So that's significantly brightened that up already. Obviously a little bit too bright, but like I said, it's just a base for the other concealer. And then I'm going to be using my NW20, which is more of a pink toned. So we have the pink toned on this side, the yellow toned ones on this side, and I'm going to pop that over it. That'll help bring it back down a little bit more in tone with the rest of my skin. And I will put this now on the inner corner where that blue part is, just to help conceal that a little bit. And then because I'm NC on the rest of my face, I'm going to be using a mixture of the NC15 and the NC20 to take care of blemishes and any discoloration on the face. So I just kind of bounce the concealer on and leave it there for a second before I blend it out. And just pop some around the nose area where I get a bit red. Any little bit of redness I see jumping through on the cheeks. And you can of course use a brush instead of your fingers. I'm just doing this just out of handiness and a little bit of laziness. And then for my eyelids, I'm actually going to use one of these concealers while I have the palette out as my primer as well. Now if you have dry eyelids like me, these concealers are brilliant bases for eyeshadows. They have a little bit of tack to them, they just take away any discoloration on the lids, they brighten it all up. It's brilliant. But if you do tend to have slightly more oily lids, as I think most people do, then you'll need to go for something that sets a little bit. One of the paint pots by MAC, like Soft Ochre or even Painterly, would work brilliant. Soft Ochre has a slight more yellow tone to it, so it's really good for redness. And now before I set that all in place, I'm going to apply a tiny bit of highlighter and a little bit of contour. I just want an excuse to use this guy. It's a new Tom Ford, well, it's new to me. It's a Tom Ford Shade and Illuminating Cream. It's in number 1 intensity, or intensity 1. But I'm going to apply some of this highlight just here along the top of my cheekbones. If you were to use a MAC product in place of this, it would be Luna Cream Colour Base. What I like about this Tom Ford one, which I'd heard as well, is it's very sheer. It doesn't add a huge amount of product, so it's not going to be obvious or heavy looking on the skin. Luna and the cream colour bases are great to work with as well. You just obviously have to make sure you don't apply too much. And then with the brush, I'm going to apply a little bit of that contour shade just along the edge of my nose. Either side of that bump to help minimise the look of it. And then I'm just going to go in with a clean blending brush and blend that out. Lorde doesn't seem to contour her face much at all, but she has quite a structured face anyhow. She has quite a strong structure. So I'm going to apply a tiny bit just up here along the top of the ear and up towards the temples. I'm not going to bring it down towards the cheeks as much as I normally would. And also I don't really want to go over the spots that I just concealed. So just a little bit here. And using a small brush, I find I just have more control. It means I won't go bonkers with the contouring. And I'm going to set all that in place with this Maybelline Fit Me powder. I would use maybe the Care Blend powder. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think it's the Care Blend powder by MAC, because it's a lovely, more of a matte finish. Especially compared to the mineralized Skin Finish Natural, which I usually use but has a bit of a sheen to it, and Lorde's face does tend to be more on the matte side. And this is a Sanya Kashuk brush, tool number 29. Now Lorde is queen of the neutral eye and strong lip combo, and she also is really good at defining her eyebrows, or she likes that, you know, defined eyebrow look, because she has quite a, you know, she has quite a full eyebrow without it being too strong, but she does define it. So I'm going to be using mostly colours from this Neutrals MAC palette that I have. That's missing a couple of colours. I'm going to start off with the eyebrows, and I'm going to choose just a mixture of a couple of colours, just these two browns. So I think that is Brun and Omega. And just run it through the hairs. I'm not going to go for like a really stamped on strong brow, but I just do want to fill them out a tiny bit. So her own eyebrows, and particularly in the face chart you can see it, there's not the biggest space between them, and I do like that. So all I'm going to do, I'm not going to draw on extra eyebrows, but I'm just going to go into the lighter colour and use that just to brush up the hairs here, and I suppose define them a little bit more than I normally would. I was laughing at the face chart as well, because one of the eyebrows comes in further than the other, and my eyebrows do that naturally, so I thought it was perfect for me. But anyhow, and then just to make sure that the hairs stay where I want them to stay, I'm going to use a clear brow gel. MAC do a clear brow gel. This is one by Catrice, and I'm just going to run it up so the hairs are sticking up and over. And the eyeshadow is very minimal, which is typical from what I can tell for a Lorde makeup look. She doesn't tend to go overboard with eyeshadow by any means. So I'm using some Shroom by MAC, and I'm going to apply this mainly on the centre part of the lid. In the face chart I'm working on, it seems like this whole central panel is quite light and highlighted, so I'm going to bring that up. And then just do my usual brow bone. Next I'm going to choose a little bit of Kid. I'll probably be just working with Kid and Soba because there's very little going on with the eyes. And I'm going to apply a little bit of Kid first to the inner corner. And then just to the outer corners. And then just blend it up a tiny bit. I'm going to grab a little bit of Soba and use that just over the outer corner. And I'm going to be careful not to go over the centre like I often would. So I'm just going to bring it up a tiny bit beyond the crease, but just on this outer corner. So it's just adding the really, really subtle contour or highlight. And then for underneath the eye, I'm going to grab a little bit of Soba again, which is kind of like a golden brown, but a very, very light golden brown. I'm just going to bring that underneath the lower lash line. And again, because I'm working from a face chart or a picture of a face chart that doesn't have any list of products used, it's, you know, again, really open to interpretation. So for the eyeliner over the eye, I'm going to use MAC's Carbon and just press that in place with a angled brush. Of course, you could use the MAC 266. And then when you get to the outside of the eye, or the, you know, for the flick part, it does seem to kick up a tiny bit in a, like a little bit of a flick. Uplifting. I think it's more to do with her eye shape. And then for underneath the eye, I'm going to use a little bit of Carbon as well, not to go too crazy. And for me to kind of emulate her eye shape a little bit, I'm only going to focus that underneath this lower lash line area, just on the outer half. I'm not going to bring it in towards the inner half at all. So I would use MAC's Fascinating Eye Kohl if I had it to hand, which I don't, so I'm just going to use my Bourjois Contour and Light, the white end, to add a little bit of white in on the waterline, as she seems to do this quite a lot. And then I'm going to use my False Lashes Extreme Black Mascara. It's quite fluttery looking on the outer corner, so I'm just going to do one quick coat first. So I've said this before, if you make a mistake like this with mascara, wipe it away straight away. You can see there it's coming away without leaving any marks or smudges, because it was still wet. Or let it dry and then flake it off. Don't let it kind of semi-dry before you take it off, because that's when it smudges. So straight away, like immediate damage control, or else leave it. I'm just going to work the second layer only onto the outer half. And I'm just going to pretty much do the same now on the bottom lashes, where I apply a little bit all over, but focus mainly then on the outer corner. I need to add some blusher, but before I do that I want to apply some lip primer so that it gets a chance to set. Oh, and this is coming out. Because you want to apply your lip primer, like if you know, maybe a minute before you do the rest of your lips, so it has a chance to get a little bit tacky. So the cheeks only have minimal colour on them, like a very, very natural blush. So I'm just going to use some Tenderloin by MAC and this e.l.f. small tapered brush. I'm going to kind of focus it along the bottom of the apple of my cheeks, because she has really defined cheekbones and, you know, cheek shape. So I'm just going to kind of stick out my cheeks and then define or apply a little bit of blush to the bottom. And just be careful working over any spots. I'm just like dab it on rather than wipe it too much. And then for the lips, you know, you have to use Night Moth. I have such a hard time saying that name. Night Moth. As long as I leave a little bit of a gap, it's okay. So I'm going to use Night Moth first and apply that all over the lips. I'm just going to draw in roughly, you know, as close to her shape or the shape on the face chart as I can. So I've just exaggerated the bottom of my lip there to make it a little bit more Lorde-esque. Hers kind of come, you know, they're a bit more pronounced at the outer corners. And then of course you could use Cyber if you wanted to go quite dark. You could go for something like maybe Hang Up, yeah, which is still kind of a purpley wine, which is, you know, not quite as intense. I'm actually going to use this Rimmel colour, and it's called Dark Night Water Loops. And it's a gorgeous colour. I haven't used it yet. It's just this lovely dark winey colour. It's like the perfect wearable purple. And again, I'm just going to perfect that with my lip brush. So there's my Lorde X MAC, or Lorde Loves MAC, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but my Lorde for MAC Cosmetics makeup recreation from the face chart that has blown up all over the internet, and as far as I know that collection is due out in June. So I hope you like this, guys. Thanks a million for watching. There will be pictures as usual on my blog, and I'll chat to y'all really soon. Slán.